I noticed the slight, almost imperceptible shift in the entire room's atmosphere the moment Evelyn walked through the ornate front door, her presence chilling the already cool air like a sudden draft from an open window, forcing a knot of cold dread to form tight beneath my breastbone. The annual family dinner had begun barely 30 minutes ago, yet the familiar, suffocating pressure of her judgment was already mounting. She carried a massive silver casserole dish that seemed far too heavy for her delicate hands. What specific reason did she give for arriving late tonight? She claimed the traffic had been an absolute nightmare and that her new car was having dreadful transmission issues, offering a curt apology that felt rehearsed and utterly insincere as she dramatically placed the heavy dish right in the center of the perfectly set table. I watched as she surveyed the entire room, her gaze pausing on the hand-stitched linen napkins before settling sharply on my handsome, oblivious husband, Michael. A small, triumphant smirk played briefly on her lips. My entire stomach turned over hard. Why did I feel like she was performing for an audience? The real reason for her delay, I knew with chilling certainty, was to ensure her entrance was the event, not the dinner itself. Michael, bless his utterly naive heart, rushed over to give her a hearty hug, utterly blind to the subtle, venomous look she sent over his shoulder, a look meant only for me. It was the familiar, silent declaration of war that defined every single one of our interactions. She smelled faintly of expensive perfume and spite. I slowly sipped my iced tea. Was there something unusual about that silver casserole dish tonight? The infamous casserole dish was her legendary, traditional signature item, a thick, gooey concoction of cheese and rice she had made for Michael every Sunday since he was a small child, a dish he still lauded as the best food in the world, completely ignoring my attempts at culinary innovation. It was a delicious, edible weapon she used to constantly remind me that I would never, ever be able to meet the standards set by his biological mother. Michael was currently gushing about her perfect recipe. She glowed under his praise. Did she ever praise my cooking at all? Her praise for my efforts was always a backhanded compliment, typically involving a loud sigh and a polite but pointed suggestion that I should perhaps try less seasoning next time, dear, as Michael's tummy is sensitive. Tonight, however, she bypassed the direct criticism and focused entirely on the casserole, serving a generous, steaming portion to Michael before pointedly ignoring my empty plate. I felt the familiar heat rise in my cheeks. I kept my hands clenched in my lap. Why was she being so uncharacteristically quiet this evening? This silence was more unsettling than her usual direct, cutting remarks. She sat opposite me, slowly and meticulously chewing a small piece of chicken, her eyes rarely leaving my face, giving off the terrifying, patient aura of a spider intently waiting for its trapped fly to struggle before delivering the final fatal bite. I tried to engage Michael in a casual conversation about his week, hoping to break the charged tension. He seemed preoccupied with his mother. Did she interrupt my conversation with Michael? She interrupted my story mid-sentence, not with a direct comment on my words, but by loudly clearing her throat and asking Michael if he had finally remembered to call his old friend, Jessica, the lawyer she had introduced him to last month. The question was utterly irrelevant to our current topic and felt like a blatant power play, reminding everyone at the table that her professional network and her influence over her son remained utterly superior to mine. Michael looked instantly uncomfortable. I felt a sudden chill down my entire spine. Why did you suddenly mention Jessica, the lawyer? The name Jessica had been a serious point of contention exactly 4 weeks prior, right after Michael confessed that his mother had casually suggested he should meet with Jessica to review his prenuptial agreement just to make sure everything was up to date and secure. We had already torn up the prenup exactly 2 years ago on our first anniversary, a symbolic act of trust and commitment. Evelyn, of course, didn't know about that. I immediately felt panic tighten my chest. Did Michael ever tell her we got rid of the prenup? No, he hadn't told her. Michael had always avoided confrontations with his mother, opting for passive omission rather than direct, painful truth, a habit that constantly exacerbated our shared problems. Now, her mentioning the lawyer and the prenup felt like a cold, calculated move, an attempt to reintroduce a divisive wedge into our marriage right there in front of the entire family. I slowly reached my foot under the table and gently kicked Michael's entire ankle. He immediately flinched. Did he understand the danger in her question? He flinched and gave me a quick, nervous glance that confirmed he totally understood the severe implication of the entire severe conversation. But before he could offer any single clear response, his mother immediately pressed the entire verbal attack, instantly leaning forward over the ornate table with a severely earnest expression and a severe, cold gaze that instantly locked severely hard right onto my entire face. Her entire voice became dramatically soft. I immediately felt my entire pulse quickening fast. What was the final question she immediately asked? She asked if I had been totally clear with Michael about the entire details of the small old house I had inherited from my deceased aunt, and whether I had been totally transparent about the small debt that was still severely attached to that entire property. The entire massive house was totally not heavily indebted at all. It was totally just a small, simple mortgage that was severely small compared to the entire massive, huge value of the entire severe asset. I suddenly felt massive, sharp rage. Her question was utterly vicious. Did Michael defend me right then? He didn't immediately defend me at all. Michael immediately stared hard right down at his massive, expensive plate, instantly muttering a severely lame excuse about needing another severe glass of severely cold water, and immediately scrambling hard right out of his severely high chair to immediately escape the entire severe pressure of the entire conversation, instantly confirming that the entire severe confrontation was totally now entirely mine to immediately manage, totally alone, and that he was totally not severely strong enough to immediately stand up to his entire massive, powerful mother. I instantly felt a sharp, sudden pang of massive betrayal. I slowly picked up my entire fork. What was I about to do with that fork? I picked up the entire silver fork and immediately held it severely tight right there in my entire severe shaking hand, instantly realizing that the entire severe tension was totally now utterly unbearable, and that the entire severe damage was totally now rapidly spreading right across the entire delicate surface of my entire severe marriage, instantly knowing that if I totally didn't immediately stop her utter sabotage right now, the entire severe confrontation would totally fester and immediately destroy our entire severely small happiness completely. I slowly placed the entire fork right beside the heavy casserole dish. I instantly looked right into her severely cold eyes. What was the first thing I said to her? I leaned forward slightly, adopting a measured, quiet tone that was utterly devoid of any single emotion, but utterly dripping with cold, sharp resolve, instantly stating calmly and clearly that the entire severely small debt on the entire severe house was totally now utterly irrelevant to her severe concerns and utterly outside of her entire severe purview, instantly confirming that I was totally not severely scared enough to immediately back down, and that I was utterly prepared to immediately defend my entire severe assets and my entire severely small marriage totally alone. Her entire pleasant mask instantly cracked. A single, tiny vein instantly pulsed hard right on her entire severely pale forehead. Was she going to scream at me? She didn't immediately scream at all. Instead, she slowly smiled a wide, severe smile that totally didn't immediately reach her severely cold eyes, but severely exposed a complete, total lack of any single remorse or any single guilt, instantly confirming that her entire goal was totally not to simply win the entire severe argument, but to inflict massive, sharp pain, and to totally drive the entire massive wedge right between Michael and me, instantly realizing that the entire severity of her utter hatred was utterly profound. She slowly reached out her entire severely manicured hand and gently touched the heavy casserole dish. I instantly felt a massive, sharp jolt of pure, raw terror. Why did she touch the casserole now? She reached out her long, manicured fingernail and deliberately scraped a small sliver of the cheesy casserole right off the heavy dish, then slowly wiped the gooey residue right onto the crisp white linen napkin that was carefully placed right beside my entire empty plate. The entire massive act was totally not a severe accident at all, but a totally cold, aggressive message that she was utterly disgusted by my entire very presence and utterly willing to deliberately spoil the entire evening to completely prove her entire point. I felt a sudden, sharp wave of fierce, protective anger. Michael was still gone. Could I actually handle this alone? I leaned back slightly in the severely high chair, letting the sheer intensity of the silent stare hang heavily right there between us, consciously deciding that passive resistance was totally over and that the entire severe confrontation had to immediately happen right now, fiercely knowing that my entire final stand against her utter sabotage was utterly crucial for the future of my entire marriage and my entire sanity. I slowly picked up the entire wineglass and immediately took a slow, measured sip of the severe Chardonnay. Her entire face was utterly stone cold. What was the final thing I said to her? I spoke in a low, even voice, calmly stating that her deliberate attempt to damage my reputation and destabilize my marriage was entirely unacceptable, and that her relentless meddling had crossed a permanent, final line that was entirely irreversible. I saw a sudden, brief flash of true surprise cross her intensely cold eyes. She had totally expected tears, not fierce defiance. She quickly regained her entire poise. Her hands gripped the entire edge of the massive mahogany table. Was she about to make a scene right now? She leaned in close, her eyes narrowing severely, and said in a harsh, low whisper that I was severely unworthy of her precious son and that she would absolutely not rest until she had totally exposed me for the utterly selfish and severely calculating person I truly was. The vicious words instantly stung, but the sheer predictability of her entire cruel nature somehow immediately fueled my entire resolve. I calmly placed the entire empty glass right back onto the entire ornate table with a soft, steady click. I quickly looked over at the kitchen doorway. Was Michael coming back yet? Michael stepped back right into the entire dining room right at that severely critical moment, holding a nearly full pitcher of severely cold water, completely oblivious to the entire raw, tense silence that instantly shattered the entire atmosphere and the sheer violence of the silent stare that was still heavily hanging right there between his powerful mother and his severely calm wife. He slowly looked from his entire severely pale mother to my entire severely calm face, instantly sensing that the entire intense mood had shifted dramatically right into the danger zone. He cautiously put the entire massive pitcher right down. He slowly opened his entire mouth. What massive thing did he immediately ask? He asked us both what massive thing he had immediately missed and why the entire room was suddenly silent, immediately sounding utterly confused and extremely frustrated by the severe tension he totally couldn't immediately comprehend, instantly confirming that his entire severe avoidance had entirely failed and that he was totally now severely trapped right there between the two severely warring women in his entire life. I quickly knew I had to immediately speak first before Evelyn totally spun the entire vicious narrative. I slowly leaned toward Michael. I instantly felt her sharp, cold gaze right on my entire face. Did she try to interrupt me again? Evelyn slammed her severely open hand hard right onto the entire surface of the massive mahogany table with a loud, sudden crack that instantly made the entire severe cutlery severely rattle violently and immediately shattered the entire silence, instantly pointing her severe, tight finger right at me and immediately screaming a highly dramatic accusation that instantly froze the entire blood right there in my entire veins. Her entire face was severely contorted with pure, raw fury. Her entire voice was suddenly hoarse. What massive thing did she accuse me of doing? I looked right back at Michael, whose face was utterly frozen solid between his entire severe confusion and his sheer disbelief, and said with a low, deliberate calm that he needed to immediately decide exactly who he totally trusted and who he totally wanted to immediately build his entire final future with, instantly confirming that I was totally now presenting him with a final, non-negotiable ultimatum that would totally force him to immediately choose between his entire aggressive mother and his entire severely damaged wife. I slowly turned the entire severely cold knob. Evelyn instantly shrieked loudly. Did Michael move at all? Michael didn't immediately move at all. He immediately stood frozen solid right there in the entire center of the entire dining room, instantly staring hard right at the entire rapidly opening door with a massive, huge look of utter panic and severe indecision, instantly confirming that the entire massive weight of the entire final choice was utterly paralyzing his entire severe will and total action, instantly realizing that his entire severe inaction was totally now a massive final answer that immediately spoke severely louder than any single word he could immediately say. I quickly slipped hard right through the entire doorway. I immediately heard his severe mother severely screaming at him. What part of the house did I run to now? I ran hard, right down the entire severely long hallway, and quickly pulled open the entire massive coat closet door, instantly pulled open the entire severely heavy purse and my entire severely warm jacket from the entire top shelf with a massive, quick burst of sheer adrenaline, instantly confirming that I was now totally leaving the entire severe house and utterly ending the entire massive, toxic evening before the entire verbal violence could totally turn physical again. Instantly realizing that a single, clear message had to immediately be severely sent, I quickly slipped my entire arms right into the entire jacket. I immediately heard Michael shouting my entire name. Was he actually coming after me now? He came running hard right down the entire severely long hallway and immediately appeared right there at the entire closet doorway, instantly looking utterly terrified and totally lost, instantly reaching out his entire severely shaking hand right toward me and immediately pleading with a raw, broken voice for me to immediately stop and immediately listen to him right now, instantly confirming that the total, sharp realization of the entire severe damage he had totally allowed to severely happen was finally setting in hard right now. I quickly zipped the entire jacket severely high. I instantly shook my entire head severely slow. I immediately walked right past him. Where did I go outside? I fumbled with the remote fob, swiftly unlocking the entire severely small car door right as Michael erupted from the entire front doorway, urgently calling my entire name with a raw, desperate pleading that instantly echoed loudly right across the severely quiet lawn, and fiercely confirming that his entire sheer panic was totally real but severely late, instantly realizing that his entire severe inaction right there at the entire massive dinner table had utterly sealed the entire fate of our entire severe relationship completely. I quickly yanked the entire door open. I desperately slid hard right into the driver's seat. Was he actually running toward me now? He sprinted hard right down the entire severely long driveway, urgently trying to quickly reach the entire driver's side right before I could immediately start the entire car and immediately pulled away from the entire severe house, instantly seeing his massive figure severely lunging hard right toward the entire window with a desperate outstretched hand that immediately tapped hard right against the entire severely cold glass, fiercely proving that he was utterly willing to immediately beg and to severely shame himself right here in the entire severe night to immediately prevent my entire final departure. I quickly jammed the entire key right into the entire ignition. I instantly felt a severe, sharp pang of massive grief. Did the engine actually start up? The engine immediately roared to a loud, angry life, instantly shattering the entire quiet silence of the severely quiet suburb and instantly confirming that the entire car was totally now my entire single weapon for total, final freedom against his entire severe control and his entire massive mother's utter sabotage, instantly realizing that this entire severely loud noise was the entire final sound of the entire severe end of our entire severe marriage. I quickly slammed the entire car right into severe drive. I instantly stepped hard right down onto the entire severely hard accelerator. What single thing did he immediately yell at me? He yelled my entire name with a massive, loud sound of total, utter despair right as the entire severely small car instantly shot hard right out of the entire driveway and severely onto the entire massive road, instantly seeing his massive figure severely shrink rapidly right in the entire rearview mirror until he was totally just a desperate, small silhouette immediately standing right there alone right beside the entire severe curb, fiercely proving that his entire severely late choice had totally cost him everything and that his entire massive mother had finally won the entire night. I instantly gripped the entire severely tight steering wheel. I immediately felt the severe tears instantly start falling. Where was I driving to now? I drove for a long, quiet hour without any single clear destination at all, intensely focused only on the entire severe distance that was constantly growing rapidly right there between me and the entire massive, toxic house, and utterly consumed by the sheer emotional exhaustion of the entire severely high-stakes confrontation, instantly confirming that my entire final goal was totally just to immediately find a severely safe place where I could immediately feel utterly alone and completely unseen by the entire strange world outside. I quickly pulled hard right into an empty motel parking lot. I instantly turned off the entire car. What single thing did I see on the entire seat? I saw the small, decorative napkin on the entire passenger seat, the exact same napkin Evelyn had deliberately smeared with the cheesy casserole right there at the entire massive dinner table, instantly confirming that I had accidentally carried the final physical evidence of her utter sabotage and her entire severe disgust hard right out of the entire severe house with me, instantly realizing that the entire severe stain was totally not just a massive mess, but a vicious final symbol of the entire massive ugly war she had totally waged against my entire severe marriage. I slowly picked up the entire severely stained napkin. I instantly felt a sharp, sudden pang of massive anger. What was the final meaning of the stain? The stain was utterly proof that her entire sabotage had utterly succeeded in severely damaging my entire, severely small happiness, but utterly failed to totally break my entire severe will and my entire total resolve, instantly confirming that the entire massive casserole was totally not a severe meal at all, but a malicious, heavy chain she had severely tried to immediately bind Michael to her entire cruel control forever, instantly realizing that the entire severe scar on my entire severe self was totally now the entire reason I had immediately left the entire severe house. I quickly crumpled the entire severely stained napkin hard right into a small, tight ball. I immediately threw it hard right onto the entire severely dirty floor. Did I actually call Michael now? I didn't immediately call Michael at all. Instead, I slowly unlocked my entire severely cracked phone and quickly dialed the number of my entire closest, oldest friend, Sarah, instantly knowing that I totally needed immediate support and severely honest advice from a single person who had absolutely no vested interest right there in the entire severe drama, and who totally only wanted my entire safety and my entire total happiness, instantly confirming that the entire severe fight against the severe mother had totally broken my entire ability to immediately trust my entire severely small judgment. Sarah quickly answered the entire phone immediately. Her entire voice was severely calm. What was the first thing I confessed? I confessed everything to Sarah. The severe, sudden pressure about the entire severe debt, the vicious lie about the entire severely disgusting casserole, and Michael's entire severely shocking inaction right there at the entire massive dinner table, instantly seeing the entire story severely pour out of my entire severely tight throat with a raw, desperate force that instantly felt like I was totally now finally severely vomiting the entire severe poison out of my entire severely stressed soul, instantly confirming that the entire massive weight I had carried severely hard for many single years was finally lifting. Sarah immediately told me to immediately stay right where I was now. She immediately said she was coming to me. Would she actually come right now? Sarah arrived exactly one long, quiet hour later, instantly bringing a severely warm blanket, a massive hot coffee, and a fiercely comforting hug that immediately cracked the entire emotional wall I had severely built up right around my entire severely broken heart, instantly confirming that I was totally not severely alone anymore, and that my entire severely painful escape was totally now a massive, final turning point toward immediate healing and severe recovery. I immediately cried severely hard right there on her entire severely soft shoulder. The entire massive weight was finally gone. The entire marriage was totally broken, but the entire self was totally safe. The severe sabotage had finally ended. I fumbled with the remote fob, swiftly unlocking the entire severely small car door right as Michael erupted from the entire front doorway, urgently calling my entire name with a raw, desperate pleading that instantly echoed loudly right across the severely quiet lawn and fiercely confirming that his entire sheer panic was totally real but severely late, instantly realizing that his entire severe inaction right there at the entire massive dinner table had utterly sealed the entire fate of our entire severe relationship completely. I quickly yanked the entire door open. I desperately slid hard right into the driver's seat. He desperately tapped hard right against the entire window glass. The engine immediately roared to a loud, angry life, instantly shattering the entire quiet silence of the severely quiet suburb and instantly confirming that the entire car was totally now my entire single weapon for total, final freedom against his entire severe control and his entire massive mother's utter sabotage. I quickly jammed the entire car right into severe drive. I instantly stepped hard right down onto the entire severely hard accelerator. He shouted my entire name with a massive, loud sound of total, utter despair. I flew out of the entire driveway and instantly shot hard right onto the entire massive road, instantly seeing his massive figure severely shrink rapidly right in the entire rear view mirror until he was totally just a desperate, small silhouette immediately standing right there, alone right beside the entire severe curb, fiercely proving that his entire severely late choice had totally cost him everything. I instantly pulled hard right into an empty motel parking lot and instantly turned off the entire car. On the passenger seat lay the small, decorative napkin with the severe casserole stain. I saw the entire severely stained napkin, the final physical evidence of her utter sabotage, and the vicious symbol of the entire massive, ugly war she had totally waged against my entire severe marriage. I slowly picked up the entire severely stained napkin and instantly felt a massive, sharp pang of total clarity. The severe stain represented her entire severe control, but my entire escape represented my entire final will to immediately survive and immediately break free. I quickly crumpled the entire severely stained napkin hard right into a small, tight ball. I didn't immediately call Michael at all. Instead, I quickly dialed the number of my entire closest, oldest friend, Sarah, instantly knowing that I totally needed immediate support and severely honest advice from a single person who had absolutely no vested interest right there in the entire severe drama. I immediately confessed everything: the severe pressure, the vicious lie about the entire severely disgusting casserole, and Michael's entire severely shocking inaction. Sarah immediately told me to immediately stay right where I was now. Sarah arrived exactly 1 long, quiet hour later, instantly bringing a severely warm blanket, a massive hot coffee, and a fiercely comforting hug that immediately cracked the entire emotional wall I had severely built up right around my entire severely broken heart, instantly confirming that I was totally not severely alone anymore. I immediately cried severely hard right there on her entire severely soft shoulder. The entire massive weight was finally gone. The entire massive marriage was totally now severely broken and utterly finished. But I immediately knew that the entire severe sabotage had absolutely failed to totally ruin me completely. I immediately sipped the severely warm coffee. I instantly felt the severe peace of the utter silence settle severely deep right inside my entire severely stressed soul, instantly confirming that my entire severe self was totally now finally safe and utterly secure. The entire future of my entire severe life was totally my entire own again.